It's been a while since I've covered Overwatch, partly due to time and partly due to what I see as the fundamental lack of lore and storytelling as the years have passed. Now, with the official announcement of Overwatch 2, we can get an understanding as to why, or at least we can hope. I've taken a few days to let the announcement set in, review some of the follow-up panels, and get some context to what Overwatch 2 is, or is trying to be. With that, I consider the easiest way to cover the new content is in 4 parts. The new cinematic, gameplay features, its impacts on the lore, and how Overwatch is going to shape up going forwards. When it comes to cinematics, Blizzard, as everyone can agree, always deliver. The quality of their animations, audio, and general fidelity are always top tier, an area of which they are clear industry leaders. This time we have 0 Hour, a cinematic that's been building up to 5 years, and interestingly enough, it takes a very similar slant to the very first cinematic we ever saw, which focused on a small battle between Tracer and Winston versus Reaper and Widowmaker. This time we have Mei, Tracer, and Winston as the answer to Recall. The rest is a Marvel-esque reunion, facing a new Null Sector uprising, with an all-new Titan that looks like it's been taken straight out of Pacific Rim. A far more advanced version of a Sviatogor that are produced at Volskaya, which makes sense considering the source of their technology originates from Omnics themselves, due to a shady deal with unknown Omnics previously presumed to be linked to Talon. With their combined strengths, the new Overwatch is revealed along with the tagline of Overwatch 2. As with pretty much every part of this announcement, I've got mixed feelings. First of which is the very sudden slowdown in Overwatch lore in what is now technically Overwatch 1. Overwatch started off strong with cinematics opening up small peeks into the world and its moving parts. 0 Hour to me is the capstone to this story, not the introduction to Overwatch 2. Revealing our new enemy going forward, at least in terms of the global threat as Null Sector, who are to be the second Omnic Crisis. Having followed the lore for some time, this reveal doesn't have the impact I would expect, because there hasn't been much of a build-up to it. Talon has been the main focus, with hints to them encouraging a crisis. Null Sector were a very old enemy, only seen once in-game via the Archive event Uprising. Not that they don't make sense in the grand scheme of things, but if Overwatch 2 is supposed to be heading forward, the current state of Overwatch didn't set the stage very well, with the lore we did have going through several retcons and the focus being heavily on Talon, even if we learnt very little about any of the organisations in a real way. Following the cinematic, we did also get some gameplay revealed, starting with a short gameplay trailer, touching lightly on what I expect to be the next instalment of Overwatch, which has been confusing when explaining what it actually is, mainly because Overwatch 2 is not a new game, it's an expansion in the more traditional style. Blizzard's insistence to call this a new way of approaching sequels is marketing speech. Overwatch 1 continues, gaining several updates as you'd expect if it continued by itself. New maps, characters, updates to the engine and tweaks to its art, just as free-to-play games have done for years. The Overwatch 2 part is specific to the new PvE content being released. This will be the only part you have to pay for. So yes, you do keep all your cosmetics, level progress and achievements. Not because it carries with you, but because you've not gone anywhere. With that said, we will still be seeing a brand new game mode, Push, which showcased at Blizzcon. I would assume Push will be the mode for the 4 new maps. Having looked through the gameplay trailer, I'm almost certain these 4 maps will be Gothenburg, Rio de Janeiro, Toronto, and Utopia, which link to Torbjorn, Lucio, Sojourn, and Symmetra respectively. Not confirmed, but my hunch on the current information I've seen in this trailer. The big update comes from the paid content. If you've played any of the archive missions, you'll be familiar with the co-op style of storytelling, just more in depth and with more features, including character-specific leveling, ability loadouts, and even some itemization upgrades from within the missions themselves, along with some score grinding to add replayability. This is something I've wanted for a long time, as a way to show the lore of Overwatch and set the world stage in an engaging manner, so I found myself rather conflicted with how they're implementing it. Of the 6 maps shown to be in the campaign, depicted nicely by the mission table, 5 of these are existing maps. These won't be the only missions, rather just one stage of the campaign, likely where we go around the world gathering our new team and finding out what Null Sector is doing invading all over the place, with the other new maps and maybe even some more unique maps just for the campaign. I say this because 1, it would be a waste of these new maps, and secondly, we do see Doomfist standing it in a rather ominous fashion, in what I hope is Venice, the home of Talon's headquarters. So how is all of this built on the most important part and most overlooked aspect of Overwatch? Its lore and the story it's trying to tell. The first stage of Overwatch has been a bumpy one, starting off strong with high quality cinematics, focused on very specifics of the world, characters and locations. A tapestry of stories that gradually connect to form an arc, starting in tragedy to the triumph of humanity and its gradual downfall with Overwatch. Then onto how the pieces begin to form back together as new, bigger challenges arise. From the lens of personal stories, courage, wits, and the message of doing what's right, even when everyone else is afraid to do so. A story that has since lost its way, grinding to a halt in recent years, with a bare minimum of effort put into driving it forwards, or in most cases, just piggybacking onto already defined areas. What drew me, and many others in at the beginning, was this culmination of stories, unveiling new stories to be told, with an elusive villain with their own goals, who have more resources and information than our heroes ever could. The problem with this, besides the frequency, is what has it been building up to, and is Overwatch 2 delivering on that? At this point, my gut says no, but I do truly hope to be proven wrong. Overwatch 2 in my eyes, using the information we have been given, is an exercise in marketing. What clearly is an expansion being marketed as something more meaningful. That's not to say that it will be bad and won't deliver on the stories we've been waiting for. I just don't have enough information to make that informed decision. Monetization will play a large role into this. Ticketed as a full price game, it's hard to see a justification for it, especially if they are continuing with microtransactions in place. Loot boxes have no place in any game, especially one that has an upfront cost. With the current pushback at government levels, I could see this being replaced by a battle pass in the long run, which could be a much better way forward, especially if the multiplayer aspects go free to play as have been rumoured. It's still early days for Overwatch's second phase, and so little information about it, no one should be coming to any conclusions just yet. As it stands, they've got a lot of work to do, and really need to define their messaging to explain what it's actually going to be. With no hope of seeing it until the second half of 2020, I'm now curious what this means for the current state of the game. Will it get even less support while promoting its esports? Creating a drought in content? The main winner from all of this should finally be the lore. I just hope they haven't forgotten their roots, that began with Chris Metzen. His energy exploded Overwatch out of the starting blocks, and his presence is sorely missed. This about sums up the majority of my opinions on Overwatch over Blizzcon, without rambling too much, at least I hope. I've got more I want to cover from Blizzcon, from their PR approach to the new Diablo 4 announcements, which I'll be working on in the coming weeks. I'm very curious to see your opinions on Overwatch 2. Are you excited, unfazed, or somewhere in the middle? As always, if you've enjoyed this video or found the information useful, you can support the channel by doing all the social stuff, leaving a like, subscribing, and using the bell for notifications. I've been Dante, and thanks for watching.